All right, as the last few people filter in and sign up, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Matt Morgan. I am the Assistant Director of Accountability at the State Department of Ed. And I will be presenting on accountability under ESSA today. The way this is going to work is I'm a little bit higher. Is that better? All right. So the way that this presentation is going to work today is I'm going to give you a little bit of background information of what ESSA requires of accountability. I'm going to give you a timeline, and then the main purpose of this is to really get you guys' feedback on what you want and what you expect out of a new accountability system. So we're going to get some basic demographic information from you through a poll. We're going to go through kind of a fact or fiction session about some of the requirements of ESSA, and then we're going to get your feedback through continuing that poll on exactly what you guys want or expect out of a new accountability system. So we're going to start with the ESSA requirements. And ESSA requires something relatively similar to what we've had in the past in that we are going to use assessments. However, the new accountability system requires annual determinations for all public schools based on interim progress towards long-term goals on multiple indicators. And one of the bigger differences that we're going to see here is there's going to be more of a focus on subgroups. So everything pretty much has to be disaggregated by subgroups. And all of these slides will be available at some point in time after the conference. It may be a couple weeks after our final conference session ends in Woodward. But everything from everybody's slides will be available at that point in time. So there are, in addition to this, there are 5 specific things that ESSA requires of accountability that the U.S. Department of Ed has let us know. The first one are annual assessments, which may include a measure of growth. The second one is graduation requirements. So the graduation rate for high school must be included in the accountability system. Another statewide academic indicator for elementary and middle schools. We have English language proficiency for English language learners. This one is new for the accountability system itself. Previously it was under the AMAOs. And then we have at least one additional statewide indicator of school quality or student success. So there are a lot of different things that this could possibly be, including climate surveys, student safety, educator engagement, post-secondary readiness. So there's a lot of little different things that could possibly be. But those are the 5 main requirements from ESSA for accountability. So now I'm going to give you guys a second here if you want to take a picture or two. But we're going to move on to our timeline and exactly what that means, or what the timeline means overall. So this year, A through F report cards, the ones that will be coming, the next A through F report card that will be coming out, everything stays the same. There is no change, business as usual. So that will be released in the fall of this year. Right now, through December, we are going to be working with stakeholder groups like yourself, and we are getting feedback and information from you about what needs to be included in the accountability system. We have to develop a new accountability plan, and it has to be available by December 31st. That is the federal requirement. We have to have a plan that is created and submitted to our state board by that point in time. The technical requirements of the new plan will be implemented in the fall of 2017. So that will be for the 16-17, this upcoming school year. We have to have a plan created, and it will begin its implementation in the fall of this next year. And then we have to, again, we're federally required to release report card, the report cards, the preliminary report cards will be released in fall, and then the final report cards, we are required to release them no later than December 31st of 2017. So that means the next iteration of the report cards that comes out will be under this new accountability plan. And that's under the guidelines that have been released by the U.S. Department of Ed. There was some thought initially that we would have another year, but they've come back with some rules that are saying within this next year. So we're pretty excited about this. It's going to be a heck of a year. So we look forward to, like I said, one year input and the other everything that you can provide. Yes.
And I would add that this interpretation of when this actually, which year of data you need to start using, we were all surprised that it has to be the 16, 17. I think all states had interpreted that we needed our plan, and then after you have a plan, then you start doing it. So it was kind of a surprise when the regs came out, and these are the regs that are out for comment, and I know that a lot of states are concerned about that. There's a lot of pushback on that. So just FYI, that could possibly change with a lot of input from states, but he is telling you what is correct and expected right now.
Yes. Thank you for that. Okay, so now we are going to go into a poll. If you're familiar with this, then you should know what to do. You'll text. The phone number that you're texting to is 37607, and you will text Engage1 to that phone number. You can do this through texting. If you don't want to text, if you've got a laptop or tablet, you can also use your phone. You can use your browser on your phone to go to pollev.com/engage1. So if you guys have problems getting there, let me know. I'm happy. Were you able to get there? I know you were in the last session and you were still having. Is it good? Okay.
Does anybody need a phone? Some people don't have a phone that can do that.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up the poll. The information will be on this screen as well. So it'll be up here at the top of the screen. You'll see there's the number that you text, and Engage1 is what you'll text to there. And then so what you'll get is a response email, and there will be a link in there. Don't click the link. All you're doing is just responding A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I to this specific question, and then you hit send. So school administrators up on the board. There we go. A couple teachers. And to let you know, we will be taking all the information and all the polls that we get from across the state and aggregating the results to inform decisions that are made about the accountability system. All right, I'm going to give it a few more seconds here, and then we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so what community type are you a representative for? If you're just joining us and you'd like to participate, you can type Engage1 on your cell phone to the phone number 37607. It's listed up at the top.
Yeah, and let's pause and let them catch up, because again, it's really important that we get a lot of input on what we want in accountability. You saw the news yesterday. Superintendent Hoffmeister had a lunch without lunch and invited public legislators. There were others there, and she asked a lot of questions the same way about accountability and allow people to give input. So it's really important that we get your input. So I'm talking so that those of you that just came in can log in.
Yes. And once again, it's up at the top of the screen there. It's the 37607 is the phone number you're texting to, and Engage1 is what you will text. You will get a response, and you don't click on the link in the response. All you do is just type in the letter that corresponds with the answer. I'm going to give it about another minute just to make sure everybody's logged in and ready to go. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question now. What part of Oklahoma are you a representative for? Hmm?
So this is the question, there's no answers, right?
Oh.
It's all of them.
All right, we've got some Southwest here for the first time. That's quite a drive. Welcome. Yes.
Why am I left that one.
Okay.
And then I joined, so I texted these two answers in response, and I get this.
Okay, so yeah, you left that one, so you're going to have to join again. So type engage 1.
So, okay, I left this one,
Yeah,
okay, and then I did,
you've joined this one. Okay.
joined that one,
Yes.
engaged one, okay, and then
Oh,
I
and
started
then you
answering
answered.
questions.
Uh-huh.
Mine just sends.
And then you
it
left
down
again,
and-
though.
What, so what do I need to do?
Just type in engage 1 again, and then you can answer your questions. Okay. I'm going to jump to the next one here. And what groups are you a representative for? Now, the reason these specific groups were selected was because these are some of the ESSA stakeholder groups that they specifically specify. Oh, and you can select multiple. If you want to select multiple, you will type in your answer separated by comma. So you could do A, comma, C, comma, D. And there will be a few of them that you will be able to select all that apply, but they will say at the top of the screen. And I'll try and remember to tell you next time. Few more responses coming in. I'm going to give it about another 10 seconds. Oh. Seemed to be a slight technical difficulty. Let me jump ahead here. Disconnected, retrying. That's terrifying. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It looks like the internet just went down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we were getting ready to head into the fact or fiction section anyway. And while it's good to have your responses and see everything up on the board here, we can, I guess, go through that section really quick, and we'll just kind of take answers from the crowd. So, fact or fiction? A 95% participation rate is no longer required under ESSA. What do we think? Fact or fiction? A 95% participation rate is no longer required under ESSA.
Can this not be?
I have no idea what's going on. It
You want
looks
me
like
to
it
take over while you
went
try to
down.
figure out?
Yeah.
Because we want to capture their data.
I know.
Okay, I'm substituting. Well, he tries to have the technology work, which it hasn't been working up until now. But I'm assuming it has something to do with the change last night, just on yours. Anyway, so one of the things for accountability was, based on the new law, there are some facts and fictions, and of course, you're not gonna, probably most of you haven't read ESSA or the associated regs. So this is kind of one way to let you know some information about it. Okay, so here's the question. A 95% participation rate is no longer required under ESSA. Fact or fiction? Fiction. Fiction. Okay, actually, it is fiction. The way it's worded backwards, but it is fiction. A 95% is still required. However, it gives you some optional ways, and if we can get the survey working, you'll get a chance to show that. It can be counted in different ways in the accountability system now than it used to. Okay, fact or fiction? Number 6. The new accountability system may include an extended year graduation rate.
Yes. Okay.
Fact or fiction?
There we go. It'll be up on the screen now.
Yay! Thank you, madam. Glad you got it back.
Yeah, me too.
Now we can capture your data. And this is really, this part of it is, there is a correct answer. The part we really want to capture is the part that's coming up where you give your opinion. Okay, so here it is.
All right. Got a couple fictions coming up. All right, the answer here is that this is a fact. States may include an extended year, a 5 or 6 year graduation rate, in addition to the 4-year graduation rate. So the 4-year grad rate isn't going anywhere, but you can have additional grad measurements. The only caveat there is that the extended year graduation rates must have a higher threshold. So.
And this is an important new consideration that we should think about, because for a lot of our special education students, it's very appropriate to use the 5-year course.
All right.
Now that I've started math,
I know. All right, fact or fiction? Districts are only allowed to give an OAP test to 1% of their student population. And this is under ESSA. All right, looks like the needle's slowing down a little bit. Actually, this is fiction. So under ESSA, the 1% cap actually applies to the state only. However, if a district does test over 1%, on using the OAP, they have to provide justification to the State Department of Ed for doing so. Additionally, this means that your scores on the OAP will no longer automatically be reduced either. Okay. I always walk over there and then I have to walk all the way back. All right, when ESSA is fully implemented, there will not be any more school designations. Fact or fiction? School designations. Like overall school designation, like focus, priority, targeted intervention, those kind of school designations. Seems to be fair amount of consensus among you that that is fiction. 104% there for a second. So you are correct. That is fiction. The State Department of Ed will still be required to identify low-performing schools and provide them assistance. The names of the designations are changing. So priority is replaced with comprehensive support. Focus is replaced with targeted support. So they're slightly different, same general idea. I do not believe that they're, well, it's just, there's no targeted, separate targeted intervention third category. So factor fiction, when ESSA is fully implemented, oh, that was the one that I was just reading. The required academic indicators, the ones that we mentioned at the very beginning, must have a greater combined weight towards the overall grade than the school quality indicator, factor fiction. All right, the answer there is that this is fact. A school with the lowest rating in one of the academic indicators cannot have the same overall grade as a school with the highest rating in all 5 indicators. All right, the new accountability system must have a single summative score, for example, an A through F or 1 through 5 stars, something similar to that. True or false? Fact or fiction, I guess. All right. Oop. A couple more jumps in fiction there. All right, the answer is that as things stand today, the current proposed federal regulations mandate a single overall score like A, B, C, D, or F. So this is a fact. All right. Fact or fiction, the minimum number of students for calculating an indicator or comparing test results must be 30 or fewer students. Okay, I think this one is worded a little bit in a little bit of a confusing manner, but this is technically fact that the minimum number of students for calculating an indicator for comparing test results must be between 10 and 30 students. States can have 2 minimum in sizes, one for accountability calculations and one for reporting.
So did everybody understand that Oklahoma's been using 10, both for the privacy or the reporting, but they've also been using 10 as the minimum N. More states use 20 or 30 as the minimum N for a subgroup or for reporting or anything. So this allows you to use 30 down to 10 because again, 10 below 10 you run into privacy issues.
Yeah. So we would be able to calculate it for, say, like 10 students, but we wouldn't display anything for fewer than 30 students. Yes.
Is that still, when you start looking at growth and you have smaller districts, they may have the same 15 students take the ELA and the same 15 students take the math.
Mm-hmm.
Those wouldn't show up, but they would get an indicator at the bottom because it would have been.
So that is under the current system, but we're going to a whole new system. There could be completely different ways of measuring growth. So there's a lot of unknowns there. Yes, correct. That may
And
change.
also averaging over the years, you know, there's just a number of things that can be looked at as options.
All right. True or false? When ESSA is fully implemented, the State Department of Ed must designate schools every year. Okay, this is one that every single group so far has gotten wrong. This is actually fiction. Schools are identified at least once every 3 years, and may use up to 3 years of data to determine the designation. Additional targeted support schools may be identified on an annual basis, and that is based on chronically low performing subgroups. So if you've got some really low performing subgroups.
So it's really important to think about this too. It is nice that we now have this 3-year. Federal accountability, the whole point of federal accountability is to identify the lowest performing schools and give them additional money and resources to support them. So, you know, in our state somehow this has gotten a really negative connotation, but if we focus on those 5% of schools that really need extra help and support, that's really the intent of this legislation. And then, of course, the targeted still does look at some subgroups just to make sure you don't have chronically underperforming subgroups and things like that. It's hard to think in this state, but that's what the intent, you know, is.
So right now, they stay on for so many years, improve it, would they be able to get out after 1 year, or how does that work?
Okay, well, these are all things that we need to look at. But the assumption right now is that well, you know, for next year, we're not adding any new schools based on when you get your accountability results this year, which should be coming out in a couple months. These are based on the old system, but we're not adding any new schools. We got a pass from USCE to not add any new schools because we're so way over the 5%. You know, we were able to request this pass. However, a school can come off of the list this year. Now, the question becomes, once the new accountability system is adopted, do we start out afresh? You know, and there could be some good arguments for it because we have new standards, we have new assessments, we have, you know, this is a good time to look at new baselines, new benchmark, you know, so all of those things. So that is under discussion. So this year the same, but after this year, we'll be looking at.
Can we give you our opinion on that? What button do I push?
Yeah, I did want to clarify in my my statement when I said that based on chronically low performing subgroups, additional on a yearly basis and an annual basis, additional schools, targeted schools may be added on there. That targeted schools, that is the new title for focus. So that's just wanted to make sure that we didn't get, since we had targeted intervention in the past, I wanted to clarify. Okay, the last fact or fiction question is fact or fiction, former ELL students may be included in the ELL subgroup for up to 4 years after exiting the ELL program. So these are ones that we call ELL proficient now. They've exited the ELL program. All right, 74% of you are correct. For accountability reporting only, ESSA allows former ELL students to count in the ELL subgroup for up to 4 years. Yes?
Again, that word may. Currently, we just track them for 2 years. Is that something that's going to change?
Yes. Well, possibly. It's one option. And the other important distinction that should be made here is that this is for accountability reporting, not necessarily for federal reporting or something else that comes out of there.
So what test do we use now to measure our ELL students' proficiency? WIDA access, exactly. And there's a lot of research from WIDA, this isn't the right time to talk about it, I guess, but just real quickly, there's a lot of research from WIDA that shows that when we are exiting students, they're not necessarily able to be proficient or really able to participate fully in the academic programs that they're then enrolled in. So this does allow at least some additional support in looking at how those students are doing also.
Okay. So now we're going to get into the give us your feedback section. So, how valuable is mastery of Oklahoma content standards in indicating student progress towards college and career readiness? Okay, gonna give it another 10 seconds here. How valuable is growth in mastery of Oklahoma content standards in indicating student progress towards college career readiness? Okay. How valuable is graduation with a high school diploma in indicating student progress towards college and career readiness? Going to give it another few seconds here. How valuable is student attendance in indicating student progress towards college career readiness? Going to give it a few more seconds. How valuable is progress towards English language proficiency in indicating student progress towards college or career readiness? How valuable is the completion of advanced coursework in indicating school quality? Okay, a few more seconds. How valuable is a school's accreditation report in indicating school quality? Gotta hold myself. I can't influence the poll at all. Okay, a few more seconds here. How valuable is chronic absenteeism in indicating school quality? That's not the first time that question has been asked when that has been brought up. Yeah. And something that states are looking at, from what I've heard. Okay, a few more seconds here. Oh, so getting a couple more in. All right, how valuable is school safety in indicating school quality? Okay, a few more seconds. In addition to math and reading language arts, which of the following assessments do you think would add value and help predict student progress towards college and readiness? College and career readiness, pardon me. So it looks like a few science teachers in here. God. This is an interesting reaction, and this is the reason why it's really good that we're getting responses from a large group of people. These results are different from other ones that we've had, so it's really good that we're getting this feedback. We'll go ahead and go to the next one. What is the minimum number of students needed to generate usable data on student academic performance?
Now, this is your opinion. Remember, this is what you think it should be in an accountability system.
Okay. How should not meeting the 95% participation requirement at a school be reflected on their report card?
And by the way, this has not been a huge issue for Oklahoma, but some states had issues with this, and USDE just came back really for the first time and has put conditions on their Title I money. So it's just sort of an indication that all of a sudden USDE is waking up. You know, they've been kind of like not really necessarily, like they haven't been doing peer review, and now they're doing peer review, and so I think we're seeing a little more oversight now than we've seen for the last X years, despite the new flexibility of the law.
Okay. I'll jump ahead to the next one here. Would averaging data over up to 3 years for schools that do not meet the minimum number increase the reliability and accuracy of the report cards? Okay. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools in their first year of operation? This could also include schools, not just necessarily charter schools, but also schools that changed grade span and got a new specific. 60-40, interesting. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools that serve only at-risk students? For example, Trace or Emerson in Oklahoma City? Project Accept Trace. It's, yeah. Okay, a few more seconds here.
If everyone voted, I would just point out that a lot of states have what are called alternative accountability, and these are for special, you know, like you have medically fragile assigned to one school. These are for special situations, or for sometimes other that you'll see coming up. But anyway, it is an option. We just haven't done it in Oklahoma.
Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools serving grades that do not require testing? For example, a PK center or a PK2 center. Okay. Should there be a different set of accountability requirements for schools that do not meet the minimum number of students required to calculate a school accountability report card? Schools with very, very few students. Okay. Gonna skip on ahead. We're running low on time here. Which of the following which of the following should be used to indicate school quality for high schools? Now, this is one that you can select multiple. If you do decide to select multiple, you will separate your answers with a comma. So A, comma, D, comma, E. I guess there is no E, but okay, gonna give it about 10 more seconds. Which of the following should be used to indicate school quality for elementary or middle school? Once again, this is one where you can select multiple. I'm sorry?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Okay. So one of the, one of the requirements for ESSA is that we include an additional measure of school, that's the academic indicator. For schools, we will be including a measure of school quality. And so what would you include, what would you want included in that measurement for elementary schools or middle schools?
So this is the piece that's new in the federal. It allows you to look at some different things under school quality or student success.
I don't like middle schools and elementary schools being clumped together. Because I would answer that differently.
Yeah.
But you know, different people do different things with grades, so it's hard to, is middle school 5, 7, 6, 8, you know.
Yeah.
Is kindergarten and eighth grade?
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead. Oh, that was the last one. Ah, fantastic. Yes, just in time. So if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at accountability@sde.ok.gov. Our phone number is also up on the screen. Thank you guys for attending.
And if you have any comments, be sure and email us or call us or tell us.
Yes.
I know this year was the first year that target intervention changed to graduation for high schools. And the focus was your MOs or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Or subjects. So what's the best?
Who does your 11 o'clock in here? You get to do it too?
Katie and Ellen, I believe.
Katie and Aaron.
Yeah.
Will you be here till they get started? Or you come around?
Yeah, I can.
Would you mind just make sure they have a mic on?
Yeah. That one's good. It should still be
This is-
on.
this is the
Yeah,
screen.
it's still on.
I'm
Yep.
gonna run upstairs.
All right.
And it's really already streaming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. this mic on because that's the streaming mic.
Okay,
And then there's your cookie.
okay.
And everything should be ready to go.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
We'll leave you to it.
All right, thanks. Absolutely, thank you. Hello. It's me again. Denise. She has a session.
You need to take more than 10 minutes.
What do you mean?
Well, Cindy and I kind of divided it up so that the first half was 30 minutes and my half was 30 minutes. And yesterday you only took 10 minutes.
I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, I'm going to start with questions.
Okay.
We'll try to slow because I don't have 45, you know. Without turning it into a session that we've already done.
Did I miss a handout? Because since this only goes through 6, is there not any that we just set it in free?
There should be. you know, yesterday, we kind of passed it back and forth and used this.
So you prefer that?
Yes.
Okay, then you can make your decision. I'm just
Here.
passing the info along.
Or are you gonna do these? Because I'm gonna put it right here. We set it so we pick up.
Okay.
then how do our Oklahoma School Testing Program assessments, how do they measure that? What kind of feedback should they give about this progression as we move up? So Cindy and I thought, well, we need a session that talks about what are standards, why are standards important, and so that's what we did here. So I just kind of want to start with some sort of open-ended questions. How many of you use standards and know what they are? And if you're a teacher, you probably do. If you're an administrator, you probably know something about it. And we did put out there some documents that are at a glance that does provide the standards that are there. And if we're short of some or you don't get what you want, they are available on our website also. So they're all there. So that information is available to you to use. So, but how many of you, what are you teaching in your schools right now? Are you using PASS? Are those the standards you've been using this past year? How many of you still have Common Core because your materials were Common Core team versions during that era? Some of you. How many of you started teaching the new standards because you've been on the committees or you do? Yeah. So some of you started on the new standards this year because you were involved in the development, you knew it was going what direction it was going. So, bottom line is, right now we've had one assessment at the end of the year, but all sorts of things are going on in the classroom. And that's not a good system to have. Oklahoma has to get to a coherent system that is consistent for a number of years so that we can look at growth. We can look at student progression. We can look at student mastery. We can do all these things. So the first part of this session, and I'll ask you some more assessment questions later. The first part of this section, Cindy is going to cover now Ellen, who is gracious to be here, by the way. We really appreciate it. And so she's going to discuss with the slides that Cindy had prepared.
So I think it's really easy to think about three clear-cut pieces of classroom teaching. So there's standards, curriculum, and assessment, right? And standards are what we teach. And curriculum is how we teach it. And assessment is how we measure how effective we were at teaching the standards. So, wow, that sounds real clear-cut. But you, as educators, know that it's a much more fluid process than that. And so I want to convey the idea that at the State Department, the Office of Curriculum, which is over standards and curriculum, and the Office of Assessment are working closely together to make sure that things are aligned and that the system is as fluid as we can be. So, bearing that in mind, we want to provide you with some useful resources today. So, let's hit some slides. So, I hate coming to sessions and having someone read the PowerPoint presentation to you, but I'm probably going to do a little bit of that, so just bear with me if you may. So, learning standards are concise, written descriptions of what students are expected to know and be able to do at a specific stage of their education. So, there's content, performance, and proficiency standards. Content standards are what students should know and be able to do. Performance standards tell how the students will show that they're meeting the standard. And proficiency standards indicate how well students perform. So why are state level academic standards important? Well, they help prepare students for college and careers. They define credit requirements for graduation, and they guide school districts' adoption and design of curricula. So the curriculum frameworks and the writing teams that have been established by our curriculum and instruction team are here as a guide and a resource. But your districts can also use those as guides and resources, but work on this at your district and in your school level as well. We need to ensure that all children, standards are also an issue of equity. So a standard is a standard. So it's ensuring that all students across the state of Oklahoma have the same learning goals. So it requires clear statements of what all children in the state should know, Academic standards form a sound basis on which to establish the content of a statewide assessment system. So there we're talking about the alignment. Okay, how do we ensure our students are college and career ready? We teach the college and career ready standards. When do we start preparing students for college and career? Beginning in the early grades. How many of you are elementary? Thanks, hands down. Middle school. Okay. High school. All right. Career tech or beyond. Okay. So we've got elementary through high school. So in high school, it's really easy to think about transitioning into college or career readiness. But we're in a day and age where college and career readiness is being promoted at every stage, right? So what does that look like for elementary folks? Well, I think that part of it is truly the transition from grade level to grade level. And also its exposure to what makes learning relevant for students. So exposure to different career opportunities and learning opportunities. Okay, getting off track. How do we prepare students for statewide assessments? Well, we teach the standards at the depth of knowledge in which they're winning. Okay, so there are new ELA standards and new math standards and new science standards. So there are 8 ELA standards, and these are consistent through all grade levels. So we've got speaking and listening, reading foundations, reading and writing process. So reading and writing now are paired in all of the standards. Critical reading and writing, vocab, language, research, multimodal literacies, and independent reading and writing. How many ELA folks in here? Thanks. So ELA folks, we know that ELA is truly a recursive process. So these standards, while the content and the depth the depth of knowledge increases as you progress, the recursive nature, so reading and writing and vocab and language are going to stay the same throughout all these elements. But, we need to think about, well, how do these new Oklahoma academic standards change from the past, even though that process is recursive? So I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, so I think you have a handout that's English Language Arts at a glance. And if you don't, this is available on the State Department website. And there is a landing page for the new Oklahoma academic standards on the website. But I know the website can be a little tricky to navigate. So my go-to on the website is always in the top right-hand corner. There is a website A to Z that you can search, and you can type in whatever it is you're looking for. That's usually the best way to find things. But standards are easy because there's a link right on the SDE homepage. So you get into that and you'll find these resources. And I'm sorry that we don't have enough handouts for everyone if you didn't get one. So this at a glance gives shows how the standards have changed from past. And I guarantee that those of you who are in here probably know more about this than I do.
Well, and one thing that's really important that we were trying to emphasize is that as you look at the standards now, don't just look at them as how you're going to teach them, which of course is very important, and the instructional and curriculum development associated with that, but also think about the fact if they are in your standards, in assessment we have to measure them to the same
this transition year is going to be really important, that you know the critical gaps between the grades that have shifted. So this math at a glance, maybe I can, this critical gaps column right here is really handy. And I also just remembered what I was going to say about ELA. On the website for ELA folks, there's some great crosswalks between the past standards and the new standards. So that's another good resource. And these are what those links look like on the website. So that's standards. Thank you for being patient and flexible with my inexpertise.
So now we're going to talk about assessments. And one of the things I do want to be sure and clarify is that how many of you test your students? How many of you test your students every day? I remember a time when we used to have students do this. I mean, it wasn't a written test, it was just a check for clarity, make sure that they're comprehending what we just taught, kind of a thing. So teachers ask for frequent feedback from students as to whether or not they have understood or are able to do what's being asked. Then beyond that, also what classroom teachers many times have what are called formative assessments, which are a little bit more formal than that, but they're built into the instructional cycle. And so when you give a formative assessment, what is the purpose? So I'm kind of hearing some mumbles. One of the main purposes is to adjust your instruction. And of course, if you do RTI, which is response intervention, you do assess as part of that cycle, and you adjust what you're teaching, how you're teaching. Maybe you take a different approach in how you teach it. But it is responsive to ensuring that your student has multiple ways and opportunities to learn a particular standard or particular skill that you're working on. So formative assessment is really just part of instruction. You assess, you find out, it can be a diagnostic test. What are the student's strengths and weaknesses? Where do I need to focus my instruction? Do I need a special group that really needs to work on this particular issue, content a little bit longer? All of that is part of your formative. Now, how many of you have interim or benchmark? Okay, so interim benchmark, they're still supposed to be used to adjust your instruction, but they're a little bit more formal, and they can give you comparisons to different things. They can give you a lot of different information, and different districts use different ones. Sometimes you use it as a predictive, how well you're going to do on some other test, so there are many uses of interim and benchmark. But mostly what I'm talking about today is what's called summative or large-scale assessment, which nobody really knows about. Who ever knew this until you actually started working in it? It's not something that we learn when we're a teacher necessarily. So this is what we're talking about. These are the Oklahoma School Testing Program, and these are our standards-based, or they were called criterion reference. And what do state ever decides to use ACT, SAT, or whatever for accountability, then every student, we need to take it at a set time, like as an 11th grader or something. So right now, it's optional, is to provide that feedback for people to help them ensure that their students college are ready, but it's not required. So yeah, if they want to take it earlier, they can take it earlier. If they want to wait and take it as 12th graders, it's whatever.
The hard question was, would they still have to take the math test?
I'm sorry, what? Yes.
And would that be optional by student or by school district? I know this year school districts have to opt in to take the ACT or not. Would that be by
Right.
student or by district?
Yeah, I think it still will be the same as it is this year.
Still by district.
Is that right? We didn't announce that in the RFP, did we? I'm just thinking of that RFP. What did the RFP say? That is how ACT handles it.
We did it by student conversion.
Right. Yeah.
We're okay.
So that is, what is your thinking on that?
Excuse me?
What is your thinking on that? In other words, do you think it should be like it was this year, or do you think it should be different?
My opinion don't matter much, but my problem this year was we offered the students the chance to take the ACT, our 11th graders. We'd also been doing the district choice test where we could offer the ACT to juniors or seniors. And so it forced me to not allow my seniors to have.
Well, you were the school, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I was the school.
Well, no, there was a school that already had in place that for their 12th graders, and so they hadn't taken it as 11th graders. So you did not want to exclude those kids. It was very understandable. So go ahead,
I
Brad.
think the RFP process will change that because then we'll have a state contract that we specify how it's gonna go.
And you'll know ahead of time. It won't be something that, it's all of a sudden there.
Yeah.
any ultimate assessment, looking at that. Do you have anything you wanna add?
I mean, they're going through standard setting, for science,
Correct, so this summer we are going through standard setting.
or peer review, I'm sorry. Yeah, we did.
We are going through standard setting,
And
and we're going through standard setting right now for science, for DLM, and we have submitted for peer review already the DLM, ELA and math. And we expect that they will come back and have some more information about our standards and how and if they're aligned to our new content standards. Since we just passed the new content standards, we really couldn't expect us to have that completed. But we wouldn't be surprised if they come back and ask. Do you have some thoughts on that?
No, I was just wondering if there, there's a lot of students that can't pass the standards or assessments for, the regular standards that are special ed. They can't speak or talk or, I know there's alternative testing, but there's some that can do that, but yet they still can't pass the standards. But there's gonna be, another standard for them.
And that is correct, and that is an issue, I know. A lot of times the 1% of 1% is kind of what you're looking at. And Todd Lofton, you know Todd, or Christy Stevenson, that are in our special education department, they have some good discussion points and talks about that. So Craig, you remind me to tell Todd, I will share this with Todd so that he's aware. We actually had a little discussion about that today. And one of the things to remember is you have an alternate assessment, but not all your kids are going to be proficient on that either. That's just another way to kind of think of it. But you certainly want to,
We want this right on.
get that. So, what does Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, say about assessment? Well, it says that we have to have high-quality annual assessments in at least the grade levels and content areas of reading language arts, and our standards are language arts, mathematics, and science that meet nationally recognized professional and technical standards. And that's what they're peer reviewed for, and that's what they're here to peer review. And so, we have technical reports that we produce and all these things to support the quality of our assessments. So states are required to test students in reading or language and math annually in grades 3 through 8, and once in grades 9 through 12. And then in science, once in each of the grade spans, 3 through 5, 6 through 9, and 10 through 12. So if you're wondering, what are the reasons we took a grade 10 test? Can you see that allows us to have one test? Because it covers science in grade 10, which their science is required in the grade span of 10 through 12. So that's why one of the main reasons we picked the grade 10 test is it allows all of them. Well, until they threw history back in at us, I'll get to that in a minute. And it requires states to measure the full depth and breadth of their state academic content standards, and they have to be reviewed by outside experts to demonstrate this. House Bill 3218 was our state assessment bill, and this requires the State Board of Education to adopt rules for assessments and comply with ESSA by December 31st, 2016. So if you hear about this task force that's going on, look at what our assessments will look at beyond this transition year, it's for House Bill 3218 that requires this. So this year, 16-17, is a transition year in assessments. It is your transitioning to your new standard, your new assessments. We'll be setting new benchmarks, we'll be setting new standards, all of these things, and a new baseline. So all of this is going together. It's good, but it's a hard year because everything's changing. On the other hand, we're getting it done in 1 year, and that's the good thing. So then the assessment includes English, language arts, mathematics in grades And in high school, it has to provide a measure of future academic performance. Do you have a question on your face?
I'm seeing the part about norm reference. I'm wondering.
Well, so we can give you a norm reference on our state test. We just don't usually, but if you just compare it to a norm, so we can compare one student to the Oklahoma norm. You know, so there are different ways you can do it. ACT, SAT can yield both,
I can see
the
that. I'm just
11,000
thinking
norm
about our
references.
criterion reference test. How will that? You all will do that for us. You'll translate that into some norm reference and give us that score.
It just says the system has to include some of that. I revised rubric.
Amy Nycar, our